right. Thank you. Good to see you on this Easter morning. Lovely day. Everybody's got their Easter colors on. Some of us in purple, some of us in pink, blue. Lovely. So it's been an interesting time preparing this talk for Easter. Easter and Christmas are kind of challenging for me, coming from where I did a real fundamental background. That Easter and Christmas stuff was kind of ingrained in me, and so what I don't like to do is I don't like to try to kind of mimic and just be sort of like what I did as a child. And what Colleen read really was meaningful to me, and I think it was to other people because Dee Erickson sent it to me. I saw it reposted by Joan James on the Facebook, so I've seen it other places, and somebody said that it was on a lot of the CSL material online. So something really touched me about that. I also liked what today's page in the Science of Mind said about Easter. It says, on another level, the resurrection of Jesus offers the lesson that just as the stone was rolled away from the entrance of Jesus' tomb, we too can roll away the stone of our small selves and let our true self express a higher and deeper level of consciousness, in essence, living from the Christ within us. And that's kind of what the focus of my talk today is getting the rocks, getting the stones out of the way, getting things that hold us back from really being in touch with that power within. That's kind of what we're talking about. Goes on to say, Easter can be a time when we commit ourselves to removing whatever blocks us from expressing the Christ consciousness that is our true nature. We can metaphorically roll away the stones of ego and fear, allowing our true self that sees through the eyes of love and oneness, freedom to express. So there's really been some meaningful things that have come across my desk in the last, when I say desk, you know what I mean, my coffee table filled with books. So, the other thing that I subscribe to is there's a gentleman by the name of Richard Rohr. He's an American Franciscan priest, and I think I was turned on to him by Leif Nessingen. And even though he's a Franciscan priest, and I don't exactly know where they come from, but he really sounds to me like he comes from a place of like mind with those of us sitting in here today. He says that people are disillusioned with churches that teach that non-believers and followers of non-Christian religions go to hell. He said he thinks that people are getting disillusioned by hearing that message. He also says, fall in love with divine presence under any name. And you know how we do. We like to use all kinds of names for the God presence, whether it's God or Jesus or Allah or higher power, creative source, creative power, whatever it is. He also talks about, he says, human nature, when seeking power, wants either to play the victim or create victims of others. That's human nature, that we do this kind of stuff. And that works for a while, feels kind of good to make ourselves poor me and have people, oh yeah, poor you. That feels good, but it doesn't work in the long term. We compare, we copy, we compete, we conflict, we conspire, we condemn, and we crucify. And these are the things we have to really say goodbye to. These are some of the stones that I think we can brush away, get those out of our lives. He also goes on to say this, and this reminded me of a guy I used to work with many years ago. And he told me, he said this, and this just shocked me because I was coming from my place of this is what I believe and everybody else is going to hell. And he said that more people were killed in the name of God than anything else. And I'm like, I had never really heard that. That had not been shared with me. So I was kind of arguing with him, and he kind of educated me a little bit on wars and where, how people thinking they're doing all the right things are coming from a place of fear, and how difficult that is. He said, most persistent violence in human history has been sacralized violence that we treated as sacred. But in fact, it isn't sacred. Humans have found a most effective way to legitimate their instinct toward fear and hatred. They imagine they're fearing and hating on behalf of something noble. God, our kids, truth, morality, our love of country. And yet, it's really coming from a place of fear and hate. Now, Jesus didn't come from that place. Jesus didn't come from a place of fear and hate. He wasn't anything like violent or vengeful in this world we live in. God, as we understand it, however we name it, is love and peace and joy. So I thought that was an interesting piece from Richard Rohr, R-O-H-R, if anybody's interested. So this month we've been talking about focusing on the sacred connection with that perfect power within. Getting in touch with that very creator of ours, knowing it is within us. That power within us gives us the ability to change our lives. That's the message we take to prison. There's a power in the universe and you can use it. Consciously use it. We can transform the tombstone of limitation to the stepping stone of good and all good. We don't have to be confined to this tomb in our life of worry and fear. We can roll that stone away and we can get a connection with that perfect power within. Eric Butterworth, Unity minister, says this: the open tomb of Easter morning says to you, you can become what you innately are. And this innateness of you far transcends anything you have conceived of in your wildest flight of fancy. There is within you a person of stature, of genius, of mastery, struggling to be released. And if you get into the spirit of Easter and let it happen to you, you can believe that every stone of limitation will be rolled away from the tomb. We like to think in this circle, this science of mind kind of stuff we study, that we make practical application of some of these principles. We can use it every day in our life, use that power within us to make things good for us. Whatever in our life is a challenge, we can use that power within to turn. We can release that person of stature, of genius, of mastery, instead of staying in the tomb. There was a guy by the name of John Post. He was in a court-appointed recovery program. And while he was in this recovery program, he discovered what we call New Thought, what we're talking about here today. And he wrote something called Rocks in the Road. He said, here I am, stumbling when I should be standing, crawling when I should be running, crying when I should be laughing. The road ahead wide, open, and smooth. The goal so clear and tempting. The journey so easy if I just allow it to be. Except the rocks I throw in my own road, holding me back, slowing me down, making difficult the things that should be so easy. The mural that is the rest of my life, still just a blank wall with ghostly outlines traced in places. a hint of what lies ahead, waiting for color and texture that comes with the living of it. A blank slate, a white wall, except for the rocks that I've thrown there myself. What a beautiful little sentiment he brings here. And what I found interesting is then there's another writing by a woman named Ruth Beebe Hill, and she wrote a series of books called Hantoya, and it follows the lives of two members of the Mahato band of Teton Sioux before the arrival of the white man. So it's a series of books about these people. And interestingly enough, it kind of mirrors what this John Post wrote. She says this: "Clear the way, quit creating my own hurdles, quit holding myself back. See the picture, live the colors, feel the texture, be alive again. The man inside wants out. Kindness and warmth lives here. Music and laughter are here. The mural, hidden but still real, waiting to be released. Hiding behind the rocks I place in the road." Isn't that amazing how similar her thoughts echo John Post, or vice versa? I'm thinking she wrote first and then John Post. These rocks in the road. 2,000 years ago, the master teacher Jesus told us that we were the sons and daughters of the Most High. That's what Jesus said. You're the sons and daughters of the Most High. 2,000 years ago, his resurrection symbolized the power of spiritual understanding over human limitations. You know, he was doing stuff that other people didn't do. 2,000 years ago, he said, "These things and more you can do as well." That's what he told to his disciples. Or anybody else that was listening, which was quite a few. I mean, in those days, people were following him around. He had made an impression. Then there's this guy named Sai Baba. He was a mystic in India. Now, he lived from 1838 to 1918. And he had some of these. Did you know him? Okay. Dee knows things.
I didn't know him.
No, of him. All right. Anyway, he seemed to have the ability to manifest solid things from formless. And he also, in his presence, people were healed. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't sound kind of Jesus-like? So a Western reporter heard about Sai Baba, and he went to interview him, and he said, "Sai Baba, are you God?" And Sai Baba said, "Yes, I am." And of course, everybody in attendance was just stunned. I mean, how can somebody say something like that? But he went on to say, "And so are you. The difference between you and me is that I know it and you doubt it." Isn't that beautiful? And that's kind of the difference between Jesus and us. You know, as he said, the things I do, you could do. And yet we tend to doubt the power that we have within. And there's nothing that gives more faith to us than actually experiencing something, like saying a prayer, in knowing the truth about life, saying a prayer about healing of a relationship or healing of something physical or healing of our lack of abundance, something like that, is we set an intention. Say that prayer. I say write it down and date it. Because if we don't, somehow, oh yeah, well that relationship healed because blah, blah, blah. It healed because we set an intention. So let's give credit where credit is due. And the thing that's really powerful about that is you're going to come to another point in your life where you're up against it. Big problem. How can this problem ever be solved? It seems insurmountable. And if you go to this little file that you have called Answered Prayers and look at it and say, gee, I remember thinking there was no way this thing could get resolved in a positive way. And yet you've got it written down. This is how it was resolved. And so I think that writing these things down, and then when you have another problem, you go to that file and say, that's right, I have this power within to claim my good. It's just a powerful, powerful thing to do. If you're not in the habit of making a note of what you're praying for and dating it, do it. Because there's nothing that's going to give you more faith going forward than remembering that your prayers were so faithfully answered. So we're part of this divine creation. We're a being of light. You showed up just at the right time in this lifetime of yours. You're a part of the eternal perfection. Why doubt these things? This is the truth. We often say that we're a drop of water in a mighty ocean. Rumi says it a little different. He says you're not a drop in the ocean, you're the entire ocean in a drop. There's power within. Why doubt it? And this is the one I really like, and I repeat it, particularly when we go to the prisons and sit around these people who are probably feeling not too powerful at the moment, probably not feeling too loved. It says, you are the creator of your own universe. How powerful that is, because the creative power of the universe is as close as your breath, as close as your hands and feet. Why do you doubt it? Giving you that word of wisdom, giving these guys in prison, what a powerful thought that we have that power within us. It's as close as our hands and feet, as close as our breath. We can declare the good we desire in our life. Jesus knew these things. Sai Baba knew these things. Why do we doubt these things? So next time you have a situation, be sure you write it down. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to date it and just turn it over to my higher power, declaring the highest and best. I don't even know what that is, but I'm declaring the highest and best. Just see how it works out. We can release our own doubts. We can release this sense of inadequacy that we carry around. And we can move into this oneness. We can move into the sea of possibilities. Let's identify more with ourselves as spiritual beings than we've done before. Just think of yourself as a spiritual being. We know we're human beings, but we're actually spiritual beings having a human experience. So what if we embodied ideas like this? I'm an infinite being. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Even as my body ages, my spirit is eternal. I am whole spiritually. That's why in our circles, sometimes when people say, how you doing? We say, I'm perfect, whole, and complete. We're talking about that spiritual part of us, and it's a powerful thing to say. I am one with all life, connected to universal intelligence of all life. I am never alone. What a comfort that is. What a comfort that is. We're never alone. I am a co-creator. My thoughts and beliefs create my reality. That's what we're all about here. That's what we're all about. We have that power within to create our own reality. I take responsibility for my life, and I learn how to live more consciously. And when it says more consciously, I think it's talking about setting intentions. What do I want in my life? What kind of relationships? How do I want to flourish from a standpoint of abundance? How do I want to be from a standpoint of my physical health and so forth? I am love. Now, I think that a lot of us have things that happened in the past, either the recent past or maybe further back, that we could relate to as these stones or as these rocks that kind of we stumble over, and they keep us from being really who we're meant to be. We're meant to be happy people. We're meant to be loving people. We're meant to be energetic people, healthy people. And so I want to think about that a little bit, this idea that there might be something in the past, recent or further back, that is a stone that you maybe just haven't thought about. I got the power to roll that away. I got the power to kick those stones out of the way. Such a cute smile. She's hanging on my every word, let's face it. So these stones could be a childhood wound. They could be a relationship wound. Oh, he hurt me so much, so I can't forgive. He hurt me so much, I can't go on. Maybe a false belief that we're not enough, a false belief that we're not worthy. There's all kinds of things that could be these stones. So think about rolling away that stone, those stones of limitation today, and refusing to ever talk about it again. Just think about that for a minute. If you know that that's kind of one of your pet things you go back to, say, I choose to get rid of that. Just roll it away, never talk about it again. But somebody might say, well, how can I share how wounded I am if I can't talk about this and blame other people? Yeah. Do you know anybody like that? Are you somebody like that? We like to kind of have somebody to blame, somebody to be resentful about, somebody to say, well, yeah, I would be more, except that, with parents like mine, or a husband like mine, or a boss like mine. Let's roll that away. If I can't blame and use this as an excuse for being who I am, what will we do? If I'm not my past, who am I? Well, the fact of the matter is, it's your sacred connection with this power within that defines who you are, not your past. That power within defines who you are. The God stuff that's within you. It's good to tell the prisoners too. They all have that light within. They forget. Jesus had that awakening. He knew he was one with he called it his Father in heaven. He was one with God, unity, love. And he demonstrated the ultimate miracle. He overcame death. And whether or not that resurrection story is literal or fact, it's not what matters. What matters is the idea that Jesus overcame death by believing more in life, by believing himself to be one with God. It's time to awaken our belief system. So we can dispense of any of those false beliefs. We can dispense of all those rocks. We can dispense of that big stone blocking our way. And we can just say goodbye to anything that's kept us from our good. We can do that, and we can set an intention to do that today. We can believe that we have a sacred connection with our higher power, sacred connection of that power within. We can change our consciousness from the thought of impossibility to living in a sea of possibility. And just remember this. I think I heard it already today. There's a power for good in the universe, greater than you are, and you can consciously use it. And I would like you to, at this time, take a deep breath, get relaxed where you're sitting, and I will do a spiritual mind treatment. I say it in first person as though it's for me alone, but it's for everybody. And I know there is but one power in the universe. And that power is love and peace and joy. It's abundance, it's order, it's balance. That power has the perfect solution to any perceived dilemma in life. And I know I'm one with it. It experiences life in, as, and through its creation, in, as, and through me. And I speak these powerful words based on that power within. Even though I've stumbled over these rocks and I've not been able to fully push that stone away from the tomb that I hide in sometimes, the truth is that I now choose to easily avoid the rocks, easily roll that stone of the tomb aside. I make a sacred connection to the perfect power within. I choose to live my life in peace and joy. And I'm grateful that this is how life works. We plant our seed, we speak our word, and it is indeed done unto us as we believe. I'm grateful for a life of infinite possibilities and infinite blessings. And I release these words now to the beneficent conspiracy which does the work, and so it is.